If ancient knowledge has been preserved, and if, speaking in general, there exists a knowledge distinct from our science and philosophy, or even surpassing it, why is it so carefully concealed? Why is it not made common property? Why are the men who possess this knowledge unwilling to let it pass into general circulation of life for the sake of a better and more successful struggle against deceit, evil, and ignorance? He answered, "The crowd neither wants nor seeks knowledge, and the leaders of the crowd, in their own interests, try to strengthen its fear and dislike of anything new and unknown. The slavery in which mankind lives is based upon this fear. It is even difficult to imagine all the horror of this slavery. We do not understand what people are loosing. To understand the cause of this slavery, it is enough to see how people live. What makes the aim of their existence, the object of their desires, passions, and aspirations, of what they think, of what they talk, what they serve, and what they worship." I remembered that a few days before this talk, I had seen 2 enormous lorries loaded to the height of the first floor of the houses with new unpainted wooden crutches. For some reason, I was very much struck by these lorries. In these mountains of crutches, for legs which were not yet cut off, was a particularly cynical mockery of all the things with which people deceive themselves. "What do you expect?" said Gurdjieff. "People are machines. Machines have to be blind and unconscious. They cannot be otherwise, and all their actions have to correspond to their nature. Everything happens. No one does anything. Progress and civilization, in the real meaning of these words, can appear only as a result of conscious efforts. They do not appear as a result of unconscious mechanical actions. And what conscious effort can there be in machines? And if one machine is unconscious, then 100 machines are unconscious, and so are 1,000 machines, or 100,000, or 1,000,000. And the unconscious activity of 1,000,000 machines must necessarily result in destruction and extermination. It is precisely in unconscious, involuntary manifestations that all evil lies. You do not understand yet and cannot imagine all the results of this evil, but the time will come when you will understand." Talks with Gurdjieff and the unexpected turn he gave to every idea interested me more and more every day. But I had to go to St. Petersburg. I remember my last talk with him. I had thanked him for the consideration he had given me and for explanations which obviously had changed many things for me. "But all the same, you know, the most important thing is facts," I said. "If I could see genuine and real facts of a new and unknown character, only they would finally convince me that I am on the right way." I was again thinking of miracles. "There will be facts," said Gurdjieff, "I promise you, but many other things are necessary first." I did not understand his last words then. I only understood them later, when I really came up against facts, for Gurdjieff kept his word. But this was not until about a year and a half later, in August 1916. I thought about that in the night train on the way from Moscow to St. Petersburg. I asked myself whether I had indeed found what I was looking for. Was it possible that Gurdjieff actually knew what had to be done in order to proceed from words or ideas to deeds and facts? I was still not certain of anything, nor could I formulate anything precisely. but I had an inner conviction that something had already changed for me and that now everything would go differently. This was the terrible summer of 1915, with its gradually lowering atmosphere from which, in spite of all efforts, I could not free myself. One day, it was already autumn, Gurdjieff telephoned me. He had come to St. Petersburg for a few days. I went to see him at once, and in between conversation with other people who came to see him on various matters, he spoke to me just as he had in Moscow. After January 1916, he began to visit St. Petersburg regularly every fortnight, sometimes with some of his pupils from Moscow. From among those who came to our lectures, a small group of people was gradually formed who did not miss a single opportunity of listening to Gurdjieff and who met together in his absence. This was the beginning of the first St. Petersburg group. The war was now being waged on Russian territory and was coming nearer to us. We all felt that we had to hurry, that we were doing too little compared with the immensity of the task we had set ourselves. We realized that our chance of knowing more might go just as suddenly as it had come, and we tried to increase the pressure of work on ourselves and to do all that we could while the conditions were favorable. The next lecture began with the words, "Know thyself." These words, said Gurdjieff, which are generally ascribed to Socrates, actually lie at the basis of many systems and schools far more ancient than the Socratic. The modern man of our times, even a man with philosophic or scientific interests, does not realize that the principle, "Know thyself," speaks of the necessity of knowing one's machine, the human machine. A man does not know himself. A man is a very complex machine, much more complicated than a locomotive, a motor car, or an aeroplane. People know nothing, or next to nothing, about the structure, the working, and the possibilities of the machine. They do not understand the simplest functions, for they do not know the aims of these functions. They vaguely imagine how they should learn to control the machine, the way they control a locomotive, a motor car, or an aeroplane.